Nice to meet you. Well, I feel like ours.
Sometimes I don't know. Thank you all for coming back for the second part, Public Square. We've added in some leadership to talk about these issues. When we left off, we were talking about some of the conflicts between ongoing reform efforts and some of the goals of schools that have more of a community-driven mission. And Senator Padilla, what did you think about that?
Well, it's something that has actually devastated the area that I represent, and we've been fortunate enough to have some new schools built in the area. The community hasn't necessarily been there long enough, especially on the Southwest Mesa, to form around those schools yet. So we're doing things like bringing in school-based health centers, parent engagement centers and things of that nature. We've done a great job at Atrisco Heritage Academy High School and Rio Grande High School, as well as Robert F. Kennedy Charter School, to really get the community on the school grounds so that, they start owning the school and becoming a part of the decisions that are made there.
And do you see that any of the sort of reform efforts that our state public education department would like to see being in conflict with some of these goals?
The reforms that the PED department is going about, unfortunately, they haven't engaged the community to learn, exactly what does the community need. And if you try to force feed something to anybody in any environment or any situation, you're going to have to retool it for, in this case, multiple years. And then you lose a whole generation of kiddos trying to figure out when, in fact, we should just back the bus up a couple of blocks and talk to people, land in the community, hold community meetings, bring the community onto the school grounds, as I was mentioning, so that they are a part of the solution rather than just, okay, what's next?
Chris, I want to turn to you. I asked PED to come and join us today. They weren't able to send anyone, but I wanted to get a sense from you. You see these realities in these schools that community schools can address. You also have mandates that you have to meet.
If kids aren't present, either physically and or mentally and emotionally, they may have their bodies there, but they're not there, the program is irrelevant. And so you have to wrap yourself around the whole child, and that's what part of community schools does. We have a motto that we use, and that's healthy kids make better learners.
Do you think that message is reaching officials who are implementing these reform efforts?
Some. I think we have people like Senator Padilla, who definitely knows that message. His efforts to get more social workers in schools is one way to address that. Others see it as just sort of an aside that, oh yeah, those are nice things to have. These are not just nice things to have. We have to have them. They have to be there. Those social issues that kids are dealing with today are so different than even 10, 15 years ago that students were dealing with.
Well, and you're absolutely right. And I want to add that, the social workers in high poverty schools bill that I have isn't necessarily to provide, hard counseling services in the school. It's to marshal the resources around that family that might be in crisis. Another piece of legislation that I failed to mention a little while ago, which is Senate Bill 20 here in the 2015 session, which is going to be paid leave for parents to attend parent-teacher conferences. This is another way to get the parents on the school grounds to solidify that relationship between the teacher and the parent. So that would be 4 hours a year. I'm sorry,
Right.
but on a 2,000, let's say you're a full-time worker, that's less than 0.2% of the time. And I'm a business owner, and I know we have a couple of business owners here today. At the end of the day, a business owner wants a better qualified workforce, and I'm happy to make that investment in my employees so that they can participate in their child's education. Sorry.
So the bill's really important, as well as the social work piece. The social workers at RFK make an incredible difference. But the parent-teacher conferences we do, the teachers really have to go out of their way. If they need to do it in the evening, if they need to do it on the weekend, it needs to get done. We have 85 to 90% participation. That's how the parents buy in. That's how the community owns the school.
So at Manzano Mesa, we are a Title I school. 67% of our students are eligible for free and reduced lunch. And for the 8 years that I've been there, we run about between 90 and 95% attendance at parent-teacher conferences. And that's because they are engaged and they get there however they get there. Now, if this bill is going to help them, then that's great. But my point is it's the relationship. It's the relationship between the school and that family and that community.
Commissioner
Well-
Johnson, I wanted to ask you, there's no consistent funding stream. And so we get some commissioners or city council that aren't so supportive a few years down the road.
That's the case with every funding stream in every government entity. I mean, the person who replaces me may be a lot more willing to raise taxes than I am. One of the things I like, and one of the cores of community schools, is resource alignment. And that's something that we don't do enough in government, anywhere in government, frankly. But what are those resources, and how can we bring them to bear on the needs of a specific community schools? We say every school's a community school is the goal of ABC Community Schools. It's a great motto, but it also kind of makes you think that every community school is going to be the same community school. And the truth is, not every community is the same.
Right.
So therefore, the needs and the resources for that school are going to be different than for another school.
I'm just wondering if we find out it's an effective model, maybe it should be more institutionalized.
The fact of the matter is, I think sometimes the struggle is important. The funding struggle is important. I've seen programming that gets a quote unquote sustainable funding source.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's no such thing as a sustainable funding source. But I've seen them kind of lay back and say, hey, we got this. We got our money coming in. How can we spend it? As opposed to, look, these are the things we need to do, and we've got to go out and convince the community. We've got to convince Bernalillo County or the city of Albuquerque or the legislature that these are good programs and this is why we need it. And we're continually reinventing ourselves through that struggle. And I think it's not necessarily an unhealthy thing to not have a mill, for example, that just makes it easy for everybody.
Well, I'm all about something called competition as well. And so if you take a look at community schools versus non-community schools where that base is not, that core hasn't been developed, well, I'm not sure that they should be getting the funding that that maybe that's available on a limited basis right now. All of those schools tend to do so much better. So if that's what helps kids graduate, then we need to be doing it. The
Well,
LFC,
the state law is not funded right now.
well, it isn't, and that's why we're going to definitely keep pushing this. But if you look at the reports that the LFC has come out with of late, if we can take and drop the dropout rate to under 10%, we're going to experience a $700 million a year savings to every taxpayer in the state of New Mexico. I mean, I'll take that investment any day of the week.
But be careful, because really part of what makes community schools work, at least in my experience with ABC, is the fact that you have the city of Albuquerque working with Bernalillo County, working with APS, working with United Way to make this happen. But if we get too reliant on a single funding stream, then you end up with a fragile, that's even less sustainable at that point. And the other partners, you're talking about community engagement with parents, you've got to get the governments and the entities, all the nonprofits, the governments, all of them engaged as well if you're going to be successful with community schools.
What do you all think about?
I find it a little hard that I'm agreeing with you around that struggle, but that struggle really is what we've been going through. But in that struggle, we've developed strong community partners. So Centro Savilad delivers services in Bernalillo County. We're partnered with them. Casa de Salud runs our child development center. Our parents can go to that clinic, right? They can bring their other children there. So our school-based health center, the new proposal includes South Valley Academy. So we're being a partner with another school. So that struggle is really valuable, but I gotta tell you, sometimes when that funding disappears, that critical piece goes away. And so there's gotta be a way to support it when it is proven to work, right?
Janice?
So we do have to pull from everywhere we can. We recently were running out of bus money. So for our bus to sustain throughout the year to provide after-school transportation home, we've had to, at this point, we're looking at 3 different funding streams. And this is how we have to work together.
Go ahead, Chris.
I'm on the edge because I think that the cornerstone, at least in my mind, of community schools is the coordinator. And what I would love to see is a sustainable funding source for the coordinator. Then when you have the programs, and you have those kinds of things where funding isn't maybe as stable and funding, then you've got a person that can help work on bringing those partnerships to the table. How do we figure this out? I mean, at Emerson, we have now the health service component of community schools without paying a penny for it. We've brought in a partner that's providing that, but without the coordinator, we wouldn't be able to do that piece.
what's a good source for that money?
We have a Community Schools Act,
Yep,
family engagement, family supports,
right.
school-based, school-linked health services, extended learning.
But it's not funded.
It doesn't necessarily have to be new money. You can look inside internally at each of the departments that supports those strands and begin to think through how
You
do
mean
we
like DOH?
how do we reallocate
Okay.
funding to support this. If we think this is important enough to sign it, if we think this is important enough to fund it separately, then how do we do it aligned?
How easy is that, Senator Padilla?
One of the things that we like to see in the legislature, I know I like to see this as a business guy, again, coming at this issue, is documented processes. And in a lot of ways, I mean, I was on the YDI board for 22 years. And one of the things that was great about YDI is as they found success in a program, they documented it. From a funding source standpoint, again, it's going to come from, all angles, but the years that we are well funded and we're able to do things, I mean, we have to live by what our means, what we have available to us. If we have successfully documented programs the way that you all are working on, I think it's going to lend itself to other legislators and other community leaders wanting to help in this way. But if we're reinventing the wheel and changing the course every little while, I mean, it's going to be tough to get legislators to want to
Well,
support
one thing
it.
that strikes me, Commissioner Johnson, is that I hear what you're saying, and I think some of the folks echoed in the struggle, you found people willing to join you, but we still have thousands of homeless kids in APS. We're 49th in child well-being, and we've got a lot of work to do. And this seems like potentially
And
a
we
good
did that
model.
despite spending north of 50% of our state budget of $6 billion a year
Right.
on education. What that tells me is there's some things that we're doing that aren't really addressing the problems that we've identified. The easy thing is to go after new money. The hard thing is to go back and look and see what's working and say, let's move this over. The county did this. We saw some of our full-time equivalent positions, those FTEs weren't being effective. So what did we do? We moved them to community schools. And that's where we're creating funding streams for ABC.
But I'm sure some non-community schools weren't put out about that.
It actually helps support all schools. Because
Okay.
right now we're supporting 71 schools, and only 10 of them are identified community schools. But we're helping other schools begin to form their infrastructure to think like this, to think differently of how they bring partnerships.
What were we going to say, Peggy?
As the school administrator, the principal, going to that school every day in the trenches, I would absolutely not be able to do my job if I didn't have Deanna as my right hand.
Your coordinator.
My coordinator. It's not the same anymore. It's not the way it was 25 years ago. And we need that to just be a governing way that we run schools.
I also want to say that with that, coupled with that, you also need a principal in a community school that can share that kind of leadership with a coordinator. So working alongside Marco was amazing. This is, I think, why our community school really began to thrive. And then we get Ann Piper, who also buys in and really is community school minded. And so because she was okay with it, we continue to thrive using our strategy.
Do you have a coordinator?
I'm lucky enough to be a Title I school, 100% free and reduced lunch. It's actually free lunch. And I pay for my coordinator out of my Title I dollars.
Okay.
So she's a school
Yes,
support.
Monica?
So at Health Leadership High School, the community engagement is a pillar at our school. And so it's important that schools institutionalize it, but like Senator Padilla has talked about, it not be forced, it be a value. It be a conversation with the principal, with the community, with the teachers. And when you have a principal like, Marco, that's at a really high school, right? They have over 1,400 students. He values that, the student-centered piece, he values that community piece, and he's able to allocate dollars. And so that's what has to happen, I think, across schools is where are those allocations and how can we transition dollars to really create that community space for our students.
Do you have room to do
Can
that?
Can
Oh,
I
go
just
ahead.
piggyback on the coordinator piece? And Senator Padilla sort of brought it forward. It's important that you capture those stories. And when I look at Highland and I look at the opportunity I've had to not only make those key decisions, i.e. like hiring on a coordinator, a student engagement / parenting coordinator, you need the body to make that decision. You know, I was fortunate enough to drop into Highland with some of the philosophical presence of a community school. So that's nice. But it's very hard to sell to your community going back without those stories. I'm going to take Title I dollars away from maybe adding a teacher to the classroom, which helps develop literacy and all those other great things that we attribute to student achievement. But philosophically, you have to believe that, you know what, coordinating our resources and how those resources are identified to support our children, I think is a larger conversation and a larger decision to be made.
Were you going to say, Senator?
I'll just add very quickly that, you know, we talked about a 1,400 student school. I have the largest high school in the state of New Mexico in my district. That's Athrisco Heritage Academy High School. 2,600 kids in that school. I am convinced if it wasn't a community school, having the parent engagement, having the social workers that are on the property as well, there's no way to manage a school that large.
So here's the reform question that was asked, I think, earlier, whether there's a conflict. I mean, the reality is, and I would beg people to challenge this, but our system is set up for 30% of success, meaning there's going to be 30% of the kids that are going to be successful, whether it's in our high schools, middle schools, or at UNM. And so how do we change that structure? How does the focus now become the 70% and not the 30? Community schools, I think, is what
Well, one
provides
thing is
that option
definitely
and
shrinking
opportunity.
the size of the schools.
I understand it. I understand the temptation here is to focus on the school again. And this isn't, I hate to say this, but it's not just about the school. The school is there to educate these kids, get them in the classroom. When they're there, make sure that they learn what they need to learn to be successful in life and to have a positive outcome. What community schools is wrap around that school and leverage all of the resources that are outside. So we got to be very careful not to focus so much on the school that we forget the community again. And it's easy to do that.
I think what I'm hearing is that everyone agrees with that, but it's that connector person.
Oh, I
That seems
absolutely
really
agree
key.
that
And
the
that's what I was
coordinator is
gonna-
doing that.
I had the opportunity to be the manager of a nationally funded demonstration grant for school-based health centers in New Mexico in partnership with Colorado. And it was through that we were able to collect some data and to say, hey, those school-based health centers that have these roles that are a coordinator role, someone that's really kind of on top of everything, knows what's going on, make sure that we're reaching out to the school, that we're engaging kids. Those are the school-based health centers that succeed, but we don't have funding for that. You know, like Medicaid does not pay for a coordinator. You know, so we get funding from the state through the Department of Health. We, you know, through our data are saying, yeah, that should include a coordinator, and we need someone, and we need the funding because we're not getting it from anywhere else.
So I think most of you agree this is really an effective model. So going forward, how do we propagate it? Go forth and propagate.
So selling it to my peers and colleagues is one response.
Is that one way?
And helping people feel that it's not another entree on the plate. This is the plate. And it is the plate that will support all other entrees if you choose to add. But the reality is we need something to hold and a place marker, and I think
Making it part of the conversation as the conversation is being had about who the new superintendent's going to be.
Okay.
You know, the other the question you had is how do we, you know, get this out there? And I would just say when you come to the legislature, you know, come up with your pitchforks and your, you know, and your tire irons and straighten us out.
And your students, bring the students.
Well, and that's where I was going to go
It sounds
next.
like you need to have stories.
You
right?
need to have those personal stories. We're very simple people. And I will just say that.
Are you saying the
I'm not
legislators?
fussing.
I had an intern follow me for a very busy day last year, and I asked the intern. I said, "Put a tick mark on on a sheet of paper. I don't want to see it until the end of the day, on how many times I change subjects throughout the day. 934 times that day. So when you come to talk to the legislators, tell me specifically what you want me to do. That's you know, and a one pager. It should have an outline of what is it that you're talking about." Some data, facts, figures, examples, real stories, and then 3 things specific. I want you to vote yes on, and the reason why. I want you to vote no on. And then, by the way, here's Billy. Billy's going to tell you his personal story, and put Billy in front of the legislator and have him tell his story.
The leadership is critical, and that comes from the superintendent. It also comes on to the principals. When we have an opening in a school for a principalship, it's becoming one of the questions that we're asking of those people. Do you understand the community school concept, and do you support it? as Jose sort of mentioned, we have 70-some schools now that are interested. And so it's now our responsibility to work with those administrators so that they understand, what does that mean? What does it mean to be a community school? We have to work on the leadership roles at all levels. And it's about, how can a community school help you to do your job better?
That seems key. Yes, Janice.
And I want to also speak to teachers. And when we talk about the reform, as a coordinator, it's the constant challenge is messaging, that we are here and you can utilize us to remove those out of school time barriers to kiddos learning. And so that's what we are here for. But when they're super stressed about evaluations and how that's going to impact their the school grade, just the testing, that makes it really hard for, I think, for teachers to want to do this extra work, even just consider me being a partner to them at the table.
So you want to propagate this model? Let's end on that. What do you need?
As we've heard today from 4 schools the story behind what they're doing and the impact that it has to them. So I think on our role and leadership role is to really listen to what they need. They need a full-time coordinator. They need funding for the programmatic pieces, but the coordinator being the staple of that. Start putting that to make it last beyond us.
Okay. Is that what you guys need? Looking at Robert and Marco. Peggy?
I think that'd be beautiful.
To
I
have
couldn't see
funding for a
anybody
full-time
to have
coordinator?
Big time.
Well, Communities in Schools, Santa Fe has 10 sites. Communities in Schools is in 10 schools in Santa Fe. So
Yes, they were supposed to be here with us today, but
Right.
Julia couldn't come because of the weather.
a very good national model also with Elevate. But is that district also ready to say, this is the way we're going to do business now? Community schools is the way we're going to do business.
Does that take APS saying that?
It would take our board saying that,
Okay.
yes. Making that a priority in the search of a new superintendent.
And for school board candidates that are running for election.
I was just going to say that. That would be a great question to ask school board candidates.
Which we have an election coming up very soon. Okay. Well, I want to thank you all for coming and talking about this. I think it's a very interesting model that I don't think a lot of people know about, so thank you very much.